I'm joined by Kenzie, who is a social media influencer, content creator, but also in the daytime, she's a software engineer living in the San Francisco area.
I think my brand, I try to keep my content really fun and energetic. I like to focus a lot on getting outside and doing things, wearing different outfits, just like really making time to do whatever makes you happy, whether that be like working out or doing community theater. I like to try to make content that's like more for the girls as well. I was one of the first like 1,000 COVID cases. I swear this is like going somewhere. Okay. I just started like posting dumb videos in my room, like not really anything that creative, just like stuff to trends. And then basically a year and a half later from there, I had gained 195,000 followers on TikTok.
Mm.
And that was more of like less about getting outside and doing things and more about just like literally me just like yapping stream of consciousness to the camera.
Look, if I'm being totally honest, a bike is not what I hoped to be riding on this lovely Friday morning. However, it'll have to do the job. Similar enough.
And then when I graduated from college, I was like, I'm about to be a software engineer. I feel like this is already a very male dominated field. And I was getting recognized on the street a decent amount, which sounds like weird and annoying to say. And I was like, if anyone at work like knows who I am, I'm gonna like freak the fuck out
Yeah.
because the stuff I was posting back then too was like more crude on TikTok. I did that through college and it was fun, but I feel like this is now time for me to put my social media to rest. So I didn't post on my TikTok account for 3 years. And then last Thanksgiving, I was talking to my mom kind of about how I was telling you earlier, like, even though I like being a software engineer, I don't totally know like what I want my career to be or what I want to do with my life. And so then I decided, my mom was like, well, you really liked posting on TikTok. Like, why don't you try to start doing that again?
On a Wednesday with me as a 25-year-old living in San Francisco who overworks her life in order to avoid her problems.
Like you mentioned, you don't limit yourself to just one thing. Can you tell me a little bit about why you dip your toe into so many hobbies and interests?
It's so fun that I have so many different hobbies, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not investing all of my energy into one of them, which honestly stresses me out a lot of the time. So I kind of just go with whatever I want to do that day. As a kid, I guess I was a big swimmer. So I did swimming and musical theater. And like, as you know, like doing creative stuff too, people are always like, you can't do like swimming and musical theater. Like that doesn't make sense. And I was like, okay, screw you. I'm going to do both. Um, but it was always very overwhelming. And I thought if I'm not going to fix it, I might as well document how insane I'm being about like having so many hobbies.
What is your experience being a woman in STEM, and how do you either fit into that mold of software engineer if there's like a certain stereotype, or how do you not fit into that mold?
There's certainly a stereotype, and I would feel bad just like listing all the qualities because that
Totally.
seems like shallow, but I guess I can. I feel like male, generally very introverted, but the way the like media like frames it, especially in shows like Silicon Valley, is like introverted in a bad way, like uh, or maybe a better way to say is like not socially adjusted. Do I fit into that mold? I don't think so. Not to toot my own horn, but I don't think so. I mean, there have been countless times where I'm at a bar and a guy's like, "Oh, like, what do you do for work?" And I'm like, "I'm a software engineer," and they're just like, "No way." And I'm like,
Yeah.
so annoying that you think that's a compliment to say it like that.
Most of the people listening to this are fellow college students like myself. A lot of them are seniors preparing to graduate. You graduated in the middle of a global pandemic, so that's a different layer that a lot of us are not going to experience. But could you tell me about how that post grad transition was like?
So I intentionally took 2 months from graduation to starting my job because I wanted to like hang out and, just be free and
Mm.
like have a summer. And I think those were like the most depressing 2 months of my life because I felt so like I didn't have a purpose almost.
Mm.
Like your whole life, you're working up to high school, and then you're working up to college, and then you're working up to your first job. And it was like, okay, now I have my first job booked. Now I have 2 months to do nothing. And I feel like I am a piece of shit human adding nothing to this earth. And that was hard. But I feel like it was important in that it helped me learn to relax more and like the point of life isn't to like have all these accomplishments, which I feel like especially if you're in college, like that's kind of like what the system tells you, like there's all these steps and then you need to be successful and then you need to go do all these other things. It's like you just need to like enjoy whatever you're doing And so I feel like it taught me like, wow, I cannot enjoy just like hanging out for 2 months. Like I chose to do that so that I could have restful time before I start my career.